Hello guys, it's me Appolonia. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. I was on a vacation the last week, so I've been a little MIA. Anyways, I felt the inspired action to take a break from EFT, the emotional freedom technique, and to talk about a different subject in relation to LOA, law of attraction, spirituality, and metaphysics. Today, I am going to be speaking about not oversharing your desires when you're manifesting them. I've noticed this has been a pattern recently in a lot of psychic readings I've been doing with the collective consciousness. You know, we all are always going through our own things and our own growth, but there seems to always be like at least one or a few similarities that everyone kind of has in common going on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with that, some examples, and what I recommend to do. So yeah, we'll get into it. So when we are trying to manifest something that we desire, and especially if we haven't manifested that easily in the past, we have shaky legs, okay? So it's best to keep it to ourselves, because the major thing that happens, now this isn't really any religion, you know, any race, is like people having jealousy, okay? In Arabian culture, we call it the evil eye, which I've mentioned before. I keep this on my keychain, all right? Which this is a good little protection piece to keep on you. But, you know, there's really evil eye in every culture with anyone around you, really, you know? So the reason why you shouldn't, you know, share your desires is because not everyone around you has good intentions. Sometimes your so-called best friends are really just there to watch you mess up, unfortunately. You know, not everyone. But I would really only share it with people you really trust and people who are positive. Sometimes there's people that you really trust, family, friends, but they're not necessarily positive, right? They want to be realistic. So what I want to mention is that when we share, you know, desires that we would like to manifest, that we are a little wobbly on ourselves, is that a few different things will happen. So the projection of the other person may come to us, okay? So like, for example, if I'm trying to manifest a job and I tell my best friend, hey, like, I really would like to get into this career, and then they say, oh, well, only the top 5% make it into that, you know, just like, so you don't get your hopes up, like, don't go for it, or, you know, something around those lines. So that is a projection of their own doubt, right? That's coming back to you. And now you're taking that into your subconscious, and now that's creating some doubt within you. But the other thing that's going on here, so that's projection in psychology, right? I am a psych major. But we also have the spiritual perspective, is that they also are emitting a vibration of doubt for your belief to manifest that. So that goes out into the universe, that energy. Their consciousness will create that within the universe and within your consciousness. You know, I mean, you could get to the point where you're just solid and like it doesn't matter what anyone else says, you're going to manifest it no matter what. But until you're at that point, I really recommend keeping those desires close to you. So that is one example of how sharing, you know, goes into the evil eye or possible jealousy, and that could go into projection in psychology, or it can also be the metaphysical projection of it going out into the universe and then into their subconscious mind and into your subconscious mind. Okay? All right. So I'm going to give a few other examples of what people might say of doubt. You know, like, say you're trying to manifest a specific person or your soulmate. They may say, oh, you know, that person doesn't call, and then you read it as maybe they found someone else, when really like they were depressed and they needed distance and time to be alone. But now because your friend just said that, that goes into your mind, and then the possibility of union between you two, becomes less and less. They could say they aren't that into you. You could also have a so-called friend where they, are interested in that person, and so they're going to try and discourage you, right? And so, sorry, an example at work came up, but I probably shouldn't share that. But, so they could be interested in that person as well, or they could be interested in you, right? They could be putting out possible bad energy to repel that person away from you because they secretly want you. So that's another example of why we should be careful what we talk about and who we talk to it about. Okay, what else did I want to mention? So those are 2 examples. Another one would be like, I'm a performer, I'm a singer, right? So if I go for an audition and say I have so-called other friends that are like also performers, right? If I tell them I'm going on this audition, but they secretly want that part, I may tell them, and then deep down I may start to feel insecure and then feel like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe they're more talented than me, or maybe they think that they're more talented than me and they deserve that part, and then they start to put that energy out to manifest that part, So I highly suggest that you keep your desires to yourself until like you're deep into it, right? And your beliefs about keeping it are high and you've kind of settled. And then I wanted to talk about, so you want to change the paradigm and change the trajectory, okay? This kind of has to do with projection as well, but this is what I mean. So I'm going to give an example of when I was a little girl. When I was a little girl, okay, I don't have the best mom, right? She ain't going to see this, so I'm going to be honest. I wound up in foster care. I was in 16, 17 different homes when I was in high school, to say the least, right? Very abusive, all of that. So anyways, she would take money from me and my brother. And I remember when I was a little girl, we went to this Target, which in California is like almost, better than a Walmart. It's a supermarket, but you can get a lot of other things there. So anyways, I was like 4 years old, and we're like out in the parking lot, and I really, really wanted this Barbie doll, right? And like, she couldn't afford it. And so I put out the energy like to manifest it, right? Then I go outside and we're getting in the car, and I find like $20 on the floor, which is the exact amount I needed then. It was like early 2000s to buy the Barbie doll. But because I told her, she took it, right? And then I didn't get the Barbie doll. And then, so like my beliefs with money were like, I was not really attracting well when I was younger until I found about LOA. And I'm going to give you an example of how I fixed this and how it's gotten better for me. So I did, you could look at different teachers for this, but Teal Swan, I had done her healing process. I'm going to link her. And then also Neville Goddard. It's the same concept, but they call it different things, right? His is called Revision. It's exactly like how it sounds. So the healing process exactly just like how revision sounds. I'm going to explain it. So I went back to my inner child, and I went to that moment, and I gave my inner child what it needed, and I let it know that there's plenty of abundance within the universe. By God, there's more than enough for you to heal our relationship with money. So I did that, right? I kid you not. The next day I feel the inspiration to go to Target, right? And I was probably like 22. This is years later. And then I stop again in the Target parking lot, a different Target, and I see a gift card, like, just in a bush, like someone had dropped it. And I go to pick it up, and I'm like, okay, no one's around. Like, I don't want to steal this, but, like, how am I going to find the person for this, right? And there was no name on it, nothing. Like, it had been there a while, actually. So, I go and look it up. I look at the numbers. No name, nothing online, right? But it was for the amount of $25, which was a little bit more even than I had, manifested when I was a little girl for that Barbie doll in the Target parking lot. So not a coincidence, was literally the next day, So, but within that one night, I changed the trajectory, okay? So, really what this comes down to when you're manifesting, the foundation, and I will never stop talking about it no matter how many times people get fucking annoyed, I do not care. Exit my channel if you don't want to hear it. But is self-love. That is the foundation to manifest anything that you want. And really, it's talking to your inner child. It is amazing how much our inner child and the years of our youth affect what we manifest and bring into our life in any subject. Money, career, soulmates, love, all that jazz. So you need to change the paradigm, the trajectory, in order to manifest differently, okay? So what that might look like too in creating your beliefs to be stronger would be like, okay, so for maybe the audition, you need to fix the I'm not good enough or the I'm second best, okay? And that's the same thing in relationships. When someone else chooses someone else, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's an element of meant to be, right? There's with everything, whether that's some kind of audition role, whether that's being with a lover or a job, there is an element of meant to be. But you still have to do the internal work, lining up energetically with that. It's kind of like going to, like, having a good body. Like, most of the time just sitting there and, like, visualizing, having positive thoughts is not all that you can do to have, a good body. You have to actually get out there and also do the work. It's a combination, right? So you need to, but in order to get to the point where you're working out too and allowing yourself to have that good body, you need to change the thoughts first, because that's the energy work. So, like, I would change the I'm not good enough and I'm second best, and doing the opposite would look like I am first best, I am good enough, I am more than enough. And you probably have to go within and talk to your inner child, because we are all born whole, I truly believe, but we get fragmented throughout life if we're not watching it, It's kind of like when we get physically injured, you need time to heal, I mean, it's easier for people to do that physically than, internally, because they don't see it. So that is my advice regarding, manifesting, keeping your desires to yourself, changing the paradigm, the trajectory, supplemented with positive affirmations, and then, knowing that there's always going to be an evil eye. There's unfortunately people like to, not everyone, but a lot of people like to waste their time and energy being jealous of others and putting that out rather than creating their best life, okay? Alright guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are interested in specific, material, just comment down below. If you like this video and you like me, please subscribe. Until next time, bye.